the earliest records indicate related to the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians. Okay, we know that they were strong and African and black. And the settlement is Lexus, Luxus, etc. These are Greek terminologies, okay? Mogador, Chile. The kingdom of Mauritania was not situated on the Atlantic coast, south of the Western Sahara, where it is now. So, you got to understand, it was basically where you have Cairo and the so-called pyramids. The pyramids were known as mounds because they were tombs. That's why they call themselves du monde in the French, the mounds of de Aya. So we know that they were the mound builders, or sort of what they say. Today, the word remains associated with the Moroccan immigrants in Spain. Now remember, they kicked out them with the Jewish people that they connected to in 1492. Now, it is considered a pejorative word. Similarly, in Spanish, the word cognate, moro, that is Moors, is considered a racist and derogatory term. But the Spanish people still use it today. Today. The Spanish people still use it today. And even think of it as a neutral word in local sayings such as Nohai, Moros, and La Costa. Literally meaning there are no Moors on the coast. Meaning the coast is clear of niggas / Moors. Now you have it. I am 100% on this. And I know what Moors are in their meaning. And one reason is that I know this because Vanna White was standing right there in the middle of it. Wait a minute, Brother Dabar, what do you mean Vanna White? What are you doing? She ain't got nothing to do with this. When I use Vanna White, I have never met the woman, nor do I mean to insult her as an individual or a person, as they may say. What I'm saying is that she is the one who stands there in the wheel of fortune, and she hits the things, and people say, can I buy a vow? In Hebrew, there are no vows. There are no vows. There are no vows. I put a footnote here saying the language of the dispersed so-called Moors. So when the brothers spell it, they say, okay, no, it's M-U-U-R. Okay. Sound like a nigga. Look like a nigga. Still is a nigga. And I don't mean to insult my brothers and sisters who are into the objectivity of becoming sovereign people. But I'm trying to show and give the truth. And sometimes the truth just there. This is what is going on now that I have so much proof on that it is there. And it's coming from many different sources. There was a name, and even the Moors that I know and talk with, I've asked them, what is your name? What is your language? The only name that they can deal with, and the other one, they try to, just like you said about your friend, the reason they couldn't accept it because it has Ayah name in it, and they couldn't deal with that spirit. They want something that they can accept that deals with their Spanish forefathers, and not dealing with something in the antediluvian period, and even in the period of Noah, before they had the 12 tribes. Because then at that time, it began to take on another structure. And on this structure, it began to take on something even more. And what that is where we get into this. Now, here's where it gets a little crazy. We see the clarity here. And in the clarity here, we know that this is our people. Now, what we're trying to do is, let me see if I can pull this. There it is. I pulled it the first time. Wow, cool. This is a map of the Moors. And I think that might be too much. Let's go to 150. That's still too much. Let's go to 100. There we go. And in this map of the Moors, it doesn't have this part. But see, these were the areas. So when they're saying the Moors, they're talking about black. And that's why the Moors, at one time I was reading and looking at some certain documentation, they were saying that at one time the world was called M-U or M-U-U. But see, that's Spanish. And that's once again where you have to keep on going. And so these things that happen, they begin to take on things of Spanish. And of the Spanish origin is not what we're about. So we know that everything happened. This is in that 13th negative gate where you're dealing with things. And what happened is they knew that when they were even dealing with names, they knew that they had to have these names that represent what the silent ones were. So they had to know that this had to begin with an A. 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 And what do you mean they had to begin with an E? It's all A. So what they did, respectfully, they said, okay, we'll attach it. I'm trying to show you something from the show and tell, how things created themselves from the antediluvian period and what they called the Moors. We had a great people called the Zanzums and the Zanzuminums and the Mennonites, but they called our mystic ones that. That was not their name. And this is why Ham, Amayas, is the principal root name of one of the individuals. When you get into the sacred seven other tribes, you have to look and say, Awamaya, because that's the community collectively, but then you're dealing with the sacred seven tribes, as is mentioned. This individual groupings of individuals is basically saying not Moors, but blacks. So we know that the black land is there. And we know that in the land of Ham, it was there. And it says that many wonders were done in the land of Ham, but they knew me not as I am, nor Zakana Dabar. So the thing is, we know that this A existed. They know that this A existed in this stolen legacy of being. So what happened is these brothers, which I respect greatly, and some I've talked with in person and met with and dealt with, they are in a search, and I admire and respect them trying to be sovereign. And at the same time, these things that are happening, I know that they're beginning to take on many different areas. And even when they were dealing with the so-called Robin Hood, you know, he was in the hood robbing. There was an archer, and they showed in Hollywood, I think it was played by Morgan Freeman or somebody there, and he was a supreme master archer, and he showed Robin and his men the art of war with trees in the forest and the bow and arrow. So that gave them an advantage. Now, we see in the movie Mummy 3, where they dealt with our people in through what they call Japhet. We know that is Ayapataya. But the thing is, besides that individual, they showed how the book that the emperor and everyone else and all these mystics control the elements and the metal and the wood did not even know this ancient language, and let alone a book. And the book had a key, and the key that opened it up was this letter here. And they knew that that was the thought. And the man who had it was General Ming, and he looked at it and he said, and he looked down and said, this is a key. And as he opened it up, it spread open and it brought the book out. But it was in a language, and he said, do you speak ancient Chinese? And she knew, yeah, right off the bat. She is a gatekeeper of the light. The 7 principal people of the indigenous people of this world belong to Ayah. The black people in America have been trying to find out whether or not they belong to Africa or some other thing or some sharecropper area such as who they're employed by. But we have a special thing that's going on. And in this structure, it's even deeper than that. Deeper than that. And it's closer than what you think.